Alright, cool beans. Hope you guys did enjoy that small montage. I'm Hex. I'm going to be going over a dual wield StamSorc build for the Scribes of Fate patch. Don't get me wrong, 2H feels fun when it works. But with everyone being a Nightblade and people just roll dodging like roly-polies and Divines Forbid, for the most part, you're just going to get CC'd before that thing even goes off. Like, it's just frustrating. It's fun when it works. But why do that when you can just put instant cast pressure on people and just absolutely dawn breaker them into a... Not only does this build come with the Meta Tankiness, Meta Sustain, like this build has absolute great dot pressure. But how exactly do we get this build in order? Stick around to the end and I'll show you exactly how. But before we get started, if you guys hit the subscribe and like button, really does go a long way and I greatly do appreciate it. Also leave a comment what you guys want to see next. But without further ado, let's streak our way into the build. So for the first skill we do run crystal weapons. This is a pretty nuts skill. Lets us pre-place a hard hitting ability, shreds their armor, and lets us hit for a second time at a reduced damage. Next, obviously, a streak. When you think of sorcerer, you think of streak. Instantly teleporting, dealing damage, stunning them, unblockable. Next, we do run critical surge, or most commonly referred to as crit surge. This is honestly a really slept on skill. Not only does it give us our major brutality and sorcery, 20% weapon and spell damage, but the main thing, while active, dealing critical damage heals you for 3696. This thing is actually heals more than our vigors, and the thing about this, you pop the skill once every 33 seconds and it's up for a long time. Unlike vigor, you have to keep casting that thing like every 5 seconds. Next skill we do run is rending slashes. Deals good initial damage. For those that don't know, you actually do double damage with the initial hit because you do damage with each weapon. And we do run, spoiler alert, the masters do wield double dips too. And I like this smart because it reduces the enemy's movement speed, which is really good for locking down my opponent. Next skill we do run is Whirling Blades. This is our AoE execute, because for the most part, when you CC somebody, their first instinct is CC break and roly-poly away. But with Whirling Blades, you can't avoid this. Next we do run is obviously the big hitter, Dawnbreaker Smiting. This is our hard-hitting ultimate. Deals a ridiculous amount of damage in a cone in front of us, stuns them, and if they're able to tell the tale of the Dawnbringer, well, that dot's for sure gonna put them down. For the back bar, we do run Race Against Time. This is obviously just our spare immunity that just happens to grab Major Expedition and Minor Force. Next we do run is Hurricane. This is our armor buff that actually puts a dot around this that it can actually start ramping up pretty well. We actually get permanent Minor Expedition while the armor's up, which we should always have the armor up anyways. Next, obviously, we do run Resolving Vigor. This is our burst hot. Heal that over 5 seconds and grants us minor resolve. Next we do run is Dark Deal. This is how sorcerers get great sustain without investing anything to sustain. So yeah, we get a great amount of stam over time, and it also heals us. It can be used as a heal, it's mostly just there for resources. Next we do run Elemental Susceptibility, most commonly referred to as Ellie Sauce. This skill is beyond bonkers. Gives a shred on the target, reducing their armor by 5948 and putting burning chill and cut status effect. And we all know what happens when you put chilled on an enemy with an ice staff equip, which we do have. You put minor bread on the target, making them take 10% more damage from crits. Next, obviously, for our ultimate, we just run Temporal Guard, just for the simple passive. While slotted, you get minor protection. Alright, but enough of that, let's go over the stat sheets. So there's actually going to be a few stat sheets we're going to see, depending on what pods and monster set you want to run, which I'll be going over in a little bit. So for the easiest one, I would recommend going Blood Spawn and Tripod. So let's just check it out real quick. Max mag over 16.1k, max health over 32k, max stam over 21.5k, mag recov over 1300, and our stam recov is just shy of 1800. Might look low, but you have to realize we're a sorcerer with Dark Deal, so most of our sustain comes from mag, which is kind of crazy. Spell damage over 5k. Our spell crit fully buffed is at almost 31%. Physical and spell penetration just shy of 6k. This actually can go up. We do have access to major breach, potential minor breach. Depending on if you run Balorgs, you can actually bump this up even more. But I recommend Blood Spawn. Now our resist on our back bar real quick. Spell resist over 27.5k, physical resist over 26k, and our crit resist is over 3726. This is pre-Blood Spawn, so our physical and spell resist can go by an extra 3.7k. So our spell resist goes over 30k, and our physical resist is just shy of 30k when we proc our Blood Spawn. But now if you want to use the sweaty pots and get the most possible crit, here we go. Our mag recov is the same, but our stam recov goes from like 1700 to down to 1400 flat. I mean, let's look at our crit. Our spell crit is at almost 43%. Wow, that is a lot of crit. So depending on what you want to run, this is more for the advanced players that want to push the absolute limit of sorcerer. But for those that are saying no, I want damage, we'll put some good old battle on there and let's check it out. Weapon and spell damage over 6,300, and our physical and spell penetration over 17k. Wow. So yeah, those that truly want battle, there you are. So regardless of what set or pots you run, our attributes and pretty much everything else is the same regardless of what you run. 32 points in the health and 32 points in the stamp. We do run Orzhok with Smoke Bear Hunch. Obviously, if this is too expensive, you could just run Jewels of Mistral, perfectly fine. For the Mundus, you know me, we run the Thief. The Thief is honestly really good. 6% chance to crit our heals or do extra damage. Like, sign me up. You know me and you know that I love crit. Obviously, if you are having more sustain issues, you could go the Serpent or even the Atro, or you could even go the Lady for some extra tankiness. Honestly, up to you personally. And obviously, we are a stage 3 vampire for one simple passive. Undeath. The lower health we are, the tankier we become. And for my race, I am an Imperial. Honestly, in my opinion, Imperial is hands down the best open world stam race out there. We get access to tough, increases your max health by 2k, the most max health you can get from a racial passive. Imperial Metal increases your max stam by 2k, and obviously the best of them all, Red Diamond, reduces the cost of all your abilities by 6%. Not only is that Magicka, Stamina, Health, and Ultimates, yes, your Ultimates cost less, our core combat skills cost less. That's Roll Dodge, CC Break, Block, and Sneak all cost 6% less. So this basically almost negates the negative effects of being a stage 3 vamp. Obviously some great alternatives. Orc could be really good. Wood Elf could be pretty good. I wouldn't sleep on Wood Elf, honestly. Dark Elf could be okay. Khajiit could be really good. We do have really high crit on this build. Honestly, Nord, it could pass. But honestly, anything else, I probably wouldn't worry about it too much. Alright, but enough of that. Let's go over the sets now. Alright, so for the first set we do run good old Rallying Cry. I mean, Rallying Cry is a pretty nuts set. 2 lines of crit, you already know that's got me sold. But the 5-piece, being able to grant up to 300 weapon spell damage is 1650 crit resist. That is 25% damage mitigation from the bonus damage of crit. The cool thing about this, we can actually affect nearby group members for this at a reduced potency. Damage and tankiness, what more can you ask for? And on top of that, it's back barable. And for the monster set, there actually are 2 monster sets you could run. The main one I would recommend is Bloodspawn. I absolutely love Bloodspawn on this build. Honestly, Bloodspawn, I feel like it's just super slept on non-DKs. Like on DKs, it's mandatory, but like on every other class, it's a really fun monster set. 1-piece Stamina Cub, already nice. 2-piece, 6% chance when you take damage to generate 13 ultimate and 3731 armor for 5 seconds, 5-second cooldown. So the cool thing about this is just being able to just pump out that ultimate, just Donnie spam. So our armor is a little low, so this kind of bumps us up to be super tanky and just ult spam as much as we want. But obviously, if you're saying, no, Hex, I want damage, then obviously you could run the heavy hitter Balorgs. Up to you personally. I prefer Bloodspawn, just easier, a little tankier. So actually, no training or mythic. We actually do run an arena weapon, or weapons, I guess. And obviously, we all know what that is. The Master's Perfected Dual Wield. Obviously, if you don't have Perfected, it's completely fine. But the only thing that Perfected does is it just grants you 526 crit rate chance. So that's basically 2.5% crit chance you get. Other than that, both weapons, whether Perfected or non, Twin Slashes deal 1635 more damage for each hit of the initial attack and the bleed. So for those that don't know, every time you hit Lightning Slashes, you actually hit them twice. So this double procs. The thing is, this makes your dot hit really hard, and it can actually catch a lot of people off guard. But for the main set we do run, Dragon's Appetite. What exactly is Dragon's Appetite for those that are asking? Well, let's check it out. 2-piece weapon spell damage, 3 and 4-piece adds stam recov. That's some really nice stam recov. It lets us run like some nice unique pot. But the 5-piece increases your damage done to bleeding enemies by 225 at gold quality. So what does that mean? So when you have an enemy that's bleeding, they take 225 bonus damage from everything. From your light attacks, from your abilities, from your dots, from your poisons. Like, you can see where the damage just starts ramping so well. But the cool thing about this, it actually does another thing. Dealing non-bleed damage to bleeding enemies generates a persistent stack of Dragon's Appetite, up to once per half second. After 10 stacks, you consume the Dragon's Appetite and heal for almost 9k on this build. The heal scales off our max mag or stam. So this actually gives Sorcerer a great form of healing, because Sorcerers, I will say, they have terrible healing. Originally I wanted to try this with Mara's, but since Mara's is absolutely getting nerfed into oblivion, it's time to get away from Mara's. And honestly, this was honestly a really good set, both damage and healing. Like, what more do you want? And it gives you some 2 lines of stam recoup, so I could actually run spell crit pots on this build. But anyways, how exactly we set up this build? So for the front bar, we do run the Master's Perfected Maces, obviously not perfected, perfectly fine. On the main hand, we do have an Absorb Stamina chant with Nirnhone. Please, on the main hand, make it Nirnhone. It makes a difference. In the enchant, obviously Absorb Stamina chant. Really good on sustain, but mostly just there to be able to proc the Thunder status effect that grants Minor Breach on the target. And on the offhand, we do run a poison damage enchant with Charge. On this build, we want to put poison on the offhand. Since we already have access to burning from Elisas, might as well put poisoned to proc the poison status effect to put another dot. And for the back bar, we do run the Rallying Cry Ice Staff with double dot poisons. Honestly, I felt like double dot poisons were really good. Like, when you proc this and you have your whole like combo just taking people get melted with this. And for the trait, obviously defending, because tankiness is next to godliness. And for the body, we do run 3-2-2. Yes, you heard that right. 3 heavy, 2 medium, 2 light. I recently swapped to 2 light and 2 medium, and honestly my damage was insane. Being able to get an extra 1k penetration basically was kind of like noticeable. So the way we do run it, we do have a heavy Bloodspawn head, heavy chest of Dragon's Appetite, heavy shoulders of Bloodspawn, light sash and hands of Dragon's Appetite, and medium legs and feet of Dragon's Appetite. For the enchants, if you can, try stat all the pieces. If you can't do that, try stat the big pieces. What I mean by that is head, chest, and legs. And if you can't do that, max damage is perfectly fine. Just adjust your health attributes at the end. And for the traits, 6 M-Pen, 1 reinforced. Yes, 6 M-Pen, 1 reinforced. The only reinforced I have is a heavy chest, a Dragon's Appetite reinforced, and the rest M-Pen. And for the jewelry, we do run a Rallying Cry neck and double ring. All infused, all with weapon and spell damage, preferably the ones with stamina recoup, but obviously if you have some or all with mag recoup, it wouldn't make or break the build. Now you might be asking, why aren't you running Bloodthirsty? Honestly, you could try Bloodthirsty. There's only one problem. I have no transmutes. Look at that, 69 transmutes. I am drained of transmutes right now. So that's the reason. Other than that, I would honestly probably do full Bloodthirsty, to be honest, or maybe even 1 or 2. But just saying that all infused weapon and spell damage, perfectly fine. And for the food we do run, good old Orzhov Smoked Bear Haunch. Gives a lot of max health and recover everything. But obviously if that's too expensive, you could obviously just run Jewels of Mistral. Does about the exact same thing, about 400 less max health, and I mean slight less recover. And for the pots, there are 2 pots you could run. If you are a newer beginner or first trying out Sorc, I would recommend going tripods. Gives you a burst of everything, gives you enough sustain to just do whatever you want and kind of learn the class. But if you're saying, no, I'm a good sorcerer, I've known Sorc, I want to push the limits of Sorc, then I would go immovability with spell crit and mag. The reason we want these spots is because we want major prophecy. Since sorcerers do have access to minor prophecy, this is how we get major prophecy. And the reason we get mag is because this is the only resource we can get with this, and immove is the only other good, trait we can get on the pots. You can either craft these, or or the cheaper alternatives would be the Alliance spell drop pots. Gives you the mag and gives you the major prophecy, but the problem is it gives you major sorcery, which we already get from crit surge, so it's a bit easier to get, but you're kind of losing on the third immovability. So up to you personally. Honestly, on this build I was just running Alliance spell drop pots. Like, I didn't need tripods for kind of not even necessary. Good to have always slotted, don't get me wrong. If you are newer to Sorc or in the game in general, tripods. You're more of an advanced player or the best Sorc ever, Alliance spell drop pods. Alright, but enough of that, let's go over the CP now. Alright, so for the blue CP, we do run Fighting Finesse, increases critical damage, critical healing, Focus Many, increases our healing done when single target heals, Mastered Arm, increases our damage done with direct damage attacks, and Ironclad, reduces our damage taken from direct damage attacks. And for the red CP, typical seal approval red Hex CP, Celerity, increases our movement speed by 10%, honestly in my opinion, the best CP in the entire game. Survival M6, while affected with the side effect, our core combat skills cost less. Relentlessness, being stunned or fear causes you to gain major protection for 3 seconds. And Pain's Refuge, the more negative effects you have active on us, the tankier we become. And for the green CP, doesn't ever really matter. Rationer, Liquid Efficiency, Gift the Rider, and Steve's Blessing. But alright, cool beans, hope you guys did enjoy the build video. Honestly, I'm just gonna say it. This was so much more fun than 2H. 2H, don't get me wrong, it feels fun when you hit it, but for the most part, with everyone just cloaking, with everyone just being a Nightblade, cloaking and roll dodging or CCing you out of it, it's so frustrating when that thing doesn't go off. With this one, we're guaranteed to just do instant damage, instant cast abilities, perfect, high pressure, drop the Dawnbreaker, spin the win, boom, clip, got him. But as always, hope you guys did enjoy the build video. Like the video if you liked it, comment your thoughts and experience with the build. Also, anything I might have missed out, what video I should do next. Subscribe for more, but most importantly, stay Zerging.